The call from the front desk came so suddenly that, for a split second, I almost ignored it. A few moments earlier, I had been lying in bed inside a Hampton Inn in New Jersey, staring at a flashing white light that refused to stop blinking from the corner of the ceiling. The hotel room felt normal enough, but something about that light had begun to wear on my nerves. Every 20 seconds, a recorded message echoed through the room. All Hampton Inn guests, please remain in your rooms. This is a lockdown. The words repeated again, and again, and again. At first, I hadn't been scared. In fact, I had found it strangely interesting. I was visiting Rowan University, a college I was considering attending after high school. My family couldn't make the trip, so for the first time, I was traveling completely alone. Earlier that day, I had attended campus tours, walked around the university grounds, and tried to imagine what life there might be like. Afterward, I grabbed dinner at a nearby restaurant before returning to the hotel around 8 o'clock that evening. Everything had felt routine. Then, around 9, the alarm started. The sound itself wasn't deafening, but it was impossible to ignore. A sharp alert tone echoed through the room while the white light flashed rhythmically from above. I had never heard of a hotel lockdown before. Fire alarms? Sure. Evacuations? Of course. But a lockdown? That was new. Eventually, the alarm tone stopped, but the flashing light remained. The recorded announcement continued looping every 20 seconds like a broken record. The room suddenly felt smaller. Still, I tried to ignore it. I turned on the television for background noise while changing into comfortable clothes. The familiar voices from the TV filled the room, helping push the strange announcement into the background. I brushed my teeth, checked my phone, got into bed. For the next half hour, I watched television beneath the covers while the white light continued to flash. Every few seconds. Bright. Relentless. Impossible to forget. Finally, I switched off the TV. The room dropped into darkness except for the periodic bursts of white light. Flash. Darkness. Flash. Darkness. I stared at the ceiling, wondering if I should call the front desk and ask what was happening. Before I could pick up the phone, it rang. The sudden sound made me jump. Relieved, I grabbed the receiver. I assumed they were finally calling to explain the lockdown. Instead, the woman on the other end sounded terrified, and what she said next would turn an annoying hotel alarm into one of the most horrifying nights of my life. The woman from the front desk didn't waste a second. Her voice sounded tight and urgent, as though she was trying to stay calm while fighting panic. "Remain calm," she said. "Walk out of your room immediately." I sat upright in bed. "What?" I asked. For a moment, I thought she might be talking about the lockdown announcement. Maybe there was some kind of emergency elsewhere in the building. Maybe guests were finally being evacuated. But her next sentence erased every possibility I had considered. "There is somebody in your room." The words didn't register at first. My mind simply refused to process them. Somebody in my room? I looked around automatically. The room appeared exactly as it had all evening. The bed, the desk, the television, the bathroom door. Nothing seemed out of place. "Sir, leave now," the woman said. Her voice sounded even more urgent. My heart started beating harder. A cold sensation crawled up my spine. But curiosity fought against fear. Part of me needed proof. Part of me needed to know. I stood from the bed while still holding the phone. My eyes swept across every corner of the room. There was nobody standing near the window. Nobody near the desk. Nobody visible anywhere. The logical part of my brain began convincing me there had been some mistake. Maybe the front desk had called the wrong room. Maybe security cameras had shown something that wasn't actually there. Maybe. I dropped to one knee and looked beneath the bed. Nothing. Only shadows and carpet. I hurried into the bathroom. Empty. The shower curtain hung motionless. No one behind it. No one inside. For a brief second, relief washed over me. The front desk had to be wrong. There was nobody here. Then I stepped back into the main room. And that's when I noticed the closet. It sat beside the bathroom entrance. A standard hotel closet with a wooden sliding door. One side was almost closed. Almost. But not completely. There was a narrow gap. Just enough space to see inside. I froze. Something felt wrong immediately. The room seemed impossibly quiet. Even the air felt heavier. Then I looked directly into the crack and saw a face staring back at me. For a moment, my brain refused to understand what my eyes were seeing. A human face, inside the closet, watching me. The gap in the sliding door was barely wide enough to reveal part of it, but there was no mistake. Someone was there, standing perfectly still, looking directly at me. The realization arrived slowly, then all at once. My stomach dropped. The phone slipped from my hand and struck the floor. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. The figure remained motionless. Neither of us spoke. Neither of us moved. The entire room felt frozen. The flashing white emergency light illuminated the closet for a split second. Then darkness. Then light again. Each flash revealed the face for only an instant. Like a photograph burned into my memory. I remember thinking how impossible the situation felt. I had been in this room for over an hour. I'd watched television, changed clothes, brushed my teeth, walked around casually, all while another person had apparently been standing only a few feet away, watching, listening, waiting. The thought made my skin crawl. I don't know how long we stared at each other. Maybe a second, maybe 3. It felt much longer. Then the closet door moved. Slowly, silently. The wooden panel slid shut. The face disappeared. That tiny movement shattered whatever composure I had left. Pure survival instinct took over. I spun toward the door and ran. No investigation. No questions. No second look. I yanked the hotel room door open and sprinted into the hallway. The corridor seemed brighter than before. Safer. I didn't stop moving until I reached people. Only then did I realize how violently my hands were shaking. The front desk staff were already waiting. Their expressions confirmed everything. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This wasn't some strange prank. Someone really had been hiding in my room. The employees immediately brought me into a secure area while security personnel coordinated with authorities. As adrenaline surged through my body, one question kept repeating in my head. How long had he been there? The answer, when they showed me the footage, was somehow even more disturbing than finding him in the closet. Because the man hadn't just entered my room moments earlier. He had been there for over an hour, maybe longer, watching, waiting, hidden only a few feet away the entire time. The hotel staff showed me footage from their security cameras. Even now, I can still remember the feeling of watching it. The man appeared on screen walking through the hallways long before the phone call arrived. He wasn't acting like a guest. He moved slowly, deliberately, stopping occasionally, looking around, studying doors. At times, it seemed as though he was searching for something or someone. The footage showed him moving from one section of the hotel to another, lingering in corridors with an unsettling patience. No luggage, no destination, just wandering, watching. Then he reached my floor. I felt my chest tighten as the video continued. The man stopped outside my room. He looked around briefly. The hallway was empty. No witnesses, no passing guests. Then he pulled out a key card. A key card. The sight alone was chilling. To this day, I don't know how he acquired it. Whether it was stolen, copied, misplaced, or somehow obtained through another method was never explained to me. What mattered was that it worked. The lock clicked. The door opened, and he stepped inside. I stared at the screen in disbelief. The timestamp showed this had happened roughly an hour before I ever learned he was there. An entire hour, possibly more. I tried remembering everything I'd done since returning to the room. Every movement, every moment, every time I had crossed the room. The realization became increasingly horrifying. At some point, while I sat watching television, he was likely hidden only feet away. When I brushed my teeth, he may have been listening. When I changed clothes, he was still there. When I lay in bed trying to ignore the flashing emergency light, he remained concealed inside the closet. The emergency lockdown that had initially seemed annoying now felt strangely significant. Without it, would anyone have noticed him? Would security have reviewed the cameras? Would the front desk have called me? Those questions lingered unanswered. The footage ended. Authorities arrived shortly afterward. And finally, the person hiding inside my room emerged from behind the mystery that had surrounded him all night. The authorities eventually located the intruder and removed him from the hotel. I stayed nearby while everything unfolded, partly because I needed answers, partly because I was too shaken to leave. The atmosphere throughout the hotel felt tense. Staff members spoke quietly. Guests whispered among themselves. Everyone seemed aware that something serious had happened. Then I saw him, the man who had been hiding in my room. He was shorter than I expected, somewhere in his 40s, ordinary looking in a way that made the situation even more disturbing. There was nothing supernatural about him, nothing dramatic, just a real person, a real threat, A real stranger who had somehow gained access to my room and remained hidden there while I went about my evening completely unaware. Authorities escorted him through the hotel in handcuffs. As he passed, he turned his head toward me and looked directly at me. The glance lasted only a moment, yet it felt strangely personal, as though he recognized me, as though he knew exactly who I was. The expression on his face revealed nothing. No anger, no fear, no explanation. Just a look that has stayed with me ever since. Eventually, he disappeared down the hallway and out of sight. The immediate danger was over, but the questions remained. Why my room? Why was he searching through the hotel hallways beforehand? How did he obtain a functioning key card? What had he planned to do? I never received answers. Years later, those unanswered questions are still the most unsettling part of the story. Not the flashing emergency lights, not the lockdown announcement, not even seeing his face in the closet. It's the realization that for more than an hour, another person stood hidden only a few feet away while I lived out an otherwise ordinary evening, watching silently from the darkness, waiting. And if that phone call from the front desk had come even a little later, I often wonder whether I would have discovered him at all, or whether I would have fallen asleep completely unaware that a stranger was standing inside my hotel closet, listening to every breath in the room.